what do you make of sort of the moves that Trump is making now and the likelihood that he will trip over his dick and end up in the White House yet again?
It's very fun. It's fun to watch for now because I like how much he clearly hates DeSantis.
Yeah.
For even taking like a small percentage of his spectacle. You know, at the end of the day, right place, right time, luck, all this shit. But, you know, why was it Trump and not Pat Buchanan? Obviously, material conditions are the most important thing. But I think even if you put a prime Pat Buchanan in there at 2016, he eats it because he has no swag. He has no juice.
He's a little freak. That's right.
That's what. Yeah,
a little freak weasel.
He's unrecognizable to the people that he would need that Trump got. But, you know, to that end, watching Trump now, like in his element, the thing that he actually likes doing the most, which is running for president.
Right. Yeah.
You know, he's having a blast.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be less fun for him, you know, when he actually does run. And again, I think just by virtue of everyone saying, oh, it's going to be Trump in 2024, it's going to happen. Somehow, maybe it won't. The more that people say it, the less I believe it will happen.
Right, yeah, because Hillary had that inevitability too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I know that's a very stupid way to look at the world, but...
it's not stupid. There's a logic there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say like, he's going to have a fucking heart attack or whatever. I don't know what will happen. If I had to put money on it, I probably would have a parlay that includes him getting the nomination. But there are a lot of silly inevitabilities if you look at the past 6 to 10 years. I don't know. Obviously, if the election was held today, I think he very likely beats Joe Biden. But I mean, if there's one guy who's very comfortable being underwater and floundering and everyone being mad at him, it's old Joe. And I don't think you can quite count him out either.
I think that's all true. That's actually brilliant because even if you say Trump is a favorite and you look at the polls, and I saw one the other day, Trump was at like 31%, then you had like DeSantis and Liz Cheney randomly at 13%. Weird poll, like a Leger poll or however you pronounce it, Leger, whatever it is.
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know the sample size, so, you know, this could be all nonsense. But even if you say Trump's a favorite right now, which I think is a fair thing to say, he still only has a plurality, and it would be a small plurality because of all the potential options that can unfold over the next however many years. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're 31%. Well, if you're playing a game of cards and you got a 31% chance on the river, if you're playing Texas Hold'em, you don't want those odds. You'd rather be on the other side of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and to make the case for Joe, it's a ways till the presidential election.
He's still alive.
He's still alive today. Still out there.
He can talk.
But no, I mean, in terms of the economic pressures that people are really upset about right now, in particular the inflation, those things could definitely change over the next little while. And listen, you don't discount an incumbent president. Trump proved, even though he did everything that he possibly could wrong, to be very difficult to beat as an incumbent president. And every incumbent president is, you know, has an advantage going in, especially if economic conditions are looking a lot better. So, you know, through no doing of his own, it's possible that he ends up with a much more favorable climate than exists right now.
Yeah. No, we can never quite predict the future. And that should give equal opportunity for horror and excitement. I don't know. Maybe we get what I've wanted this entire time, which is like, you know, for whatever reason, like Joe has a stroke that they can't really hide, and like, yeah, it would be hilarious if Trump if he's like one of the like 0.01% who gets like a vaccine complication. And he like can't run, and then it's like, and then I don't know, something happens to DeSantis, like who he just fucking eats shit, and it's like Mike Pence versus Kamala, and 30,000 people in the entire country vote in that election. That would be like if that happens.
Their relatives. official members of the Democratic Party leadership.
Low key, though, that is definitely a possibility. Crazier things have happened. I mean, every election we had in, like, from the 1990s all the way up until Hillary versus Trump, it was, John Kerry versus George W. Bush, Al Gore versus George W. Bush. Like, that's Mike Pence versus Kamala Harris. That's what that is. Like, it's the same thing,
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, if you just look at the actuarial tables, it's not crazy, the things that you're saying about maybe neither one of these guys is really...
Trump is going to live forever.
Is really able. You think so?
He's going to die today because I said that.
He thinks that as well.
Do you guys think that, because I always wondered this. Sometimes I see him and I'm like, oh, he seems fine. And then other times you're not so sure. I think him having like COVID before he could have gotten the vaccine, I think that might have like really fucked him up. He really fits the profile of someone who would be decimated by it.
He does.
That was the reporting from behind the scenes. They said that like when he went to the hospital, he had trouble breathing, that he was panicking. And he said, you know this because you always used to tweet about Stan Chera. When he was driving in the car, he's like, am I going to go out like Stan Chera?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Like, I think, it's like any awful respiratory illness. If it happens to like an older guy who maybe doesn't have the healthiest habits, it can really, I don't want to say permanently, but makes very lasting impacts. And maybe this does prove too strenuous to him. Maybe he gets a Dante-style ironic punishment. And 2 years before the primary, he starts mentally deteriorating in the way that Joe does. Who knows?
It would be great if they both mentally deteriorated and we had a debate where like they're just talking about all sorts of... Joe's babbling about Mary Poppins. Trump is talking about hanging out with Whoopi Goldberg in 1992. Like, they're just all over the place. They don't know what they're talking about. I would, just for the entertainment value, to watch the decline of the empire in real time like that would be like fascinating. And then we'd all die.
That's what I wanted so bad when they debated. Those debates were a real fucking letdown. It wasn't. They didn't let Joe have fun, which was unfortunate. There was no like. Oh, I'm gonna go backstage and kick your ass stuff. Like,
there was no look fat moment in the debates.
I thought he was gonna call Trump fat once, and he never did, and it was heartbreaking. And Trump was just like.
Badgering
Trump,
in the first
it was
debate.
like, well, yeah, it was like, well, he was doing like he was phoning it in, kind of like he was just doing like greatest hits. It was like a paid club appearance for him.
Right.
He was like, oh, people like it. People liked it when I was like kind of an asshole, but he doesn't really like do anything that interesting. It's like, no, people liked it. People liked it when you had that like lightning quick retort to Hillary where you're like, yeah, because you'd be in jail.
That's
right.
The thing
exactly
where you were like
right.
pacing
the
pacing
Rosie
around
O'Donnell
her.
thing.
The difference is, and I always thought this, Trump in the first campaign was a counterpuncher. It was like Hillary would say some aggressive shit towards him, and then, like you said, he'd slap it down, or he would retort in a pithy way that's very concise and punchy, and that's why everybody thought he was a good debater.
The problem is in the Republican debates, it was so.
That's
fun
true.
To
That's
watch.
true.
Yeah.
But the problem is in the Joe debate, Trump was the one that was going on the offense. Trump wasn't, Joe wouldn't say something aggressive and then Trump had to swat it aside. Trump would be the one to just go at Joe and everybody be like, stop the elder abuse. What are you doing?
Especially the first debate, the one where now it turns out he had COVID during the debate.
He was just yelling at Joe. And Joe was like, oh, what you talking about? And Joe won, like, unanimously.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to do anything. He just had to stand there and, like, not be
Trump.
a total obnoxious asshole that made everyone hate him in that moment. And everyone was like, well, I take that guy.
I even saw Trump people like, too hard, too fast, too much. Reel it in a little bit.
What do you think, Felix?
Oh, I will admit I was completely fucking wrong about that first debate. I was completely fucking wrong. I think I had been inside too long. I hadn't talked to enough people in the past few months before that because I saw it and I was like, oh my God, Joe's getting destroyed. Oh my God, he's going to lose by 20 points. He looks like such a fucking pussy. But it was like, yeah, most people saw that. Like, oh, Trump's like an asshole. It's like, reminding me of why I don't like him.
Right.
I
didn't walk the line.
Completely and totally wrong about that. Yeah.
Do you think that his Twitter ban has been net good for him? Because it's sort of like the opposite effect where people aren't getting constant reminders of how irritating he is and how obnoxious he is. And so some of the potency of that memory has faded.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.